Good morning, everybody. As a matter of fact, by having a look at the 5 items of the previous presentation, I realize that this is actually what we have implemented here in Bologna between the territory and the airport. First of all, let's try to talk about the context. What is an airport today? So an airport is the manager of an area owned by the state. So any airport area, falls under the competence of the state, but it is located in a local area. So there is a constant dialogue between the region, which is the sort of higher national level in our area, and the state. So on the one hand, any airport has to develop infrastructure to welcome passengers. So the infrastructure needs to be in proportion with the volume of passengers. But then there are new business drivers. First of all, low-cost carriers that have changed the traditional weights and balances of traditional airport operators, because they bring huge volumes but low profitability. So sometimes, even if you have more passengers, sometimes you are not necessarily richer. On the contrary, an airport that gets so many volumes, so high volumes, needs then to have the ability to get the gains from the investments from other sources. And then there is competition. Low-cost carriers have increased the level of competition between airports, because low-cost carriers generate many volumes, and this may be interesting for other airports, especially smaller airports like regional airports that usually haven't got the suitable infrastructure to welcome these volumes. And then safety and security issues that have sort of become different after the tragic events of 9/11, and also after the tightening of some international rules in terms of safety and security. And then there are tariffs to be complied with, because we are sort of managers of these state properties. So the development and evolution of these tariffs has followed a specific trend, because these tariffs do not cover any longer the investments that we made. And in the future, there's not going to be a fixed tariff according to the volume of passengers, but we will have in the future to negotiate these tariffs with the carriers, and certainly the low competition will bring these tariffs down. In other words, we had to sort of get gains and revenues from other non-core activities. We call them non-aviation activities, like parking lots, because passengers need parking spaces, and these are extremely profitable. And then shops, because airports have become places where people stay. It's not just a place of sort of transition, not at all. It is not anymore a non-place, as a philosopher used today, but on the contrary, these places need to be comfortable and welcoming. So this is the framework context that has developed over time. And all that said, we need to develop airport cities or aerotropolis or other similar places. So we need to develop airports in a new way for the surrounding territory and for the population. So there are two levels of developments. an internal level of development because we need to develop infrastructure in order to welcome the volumes of passengers and to offer the adequate services. And then there is the external development because we are located in a specific area. And in our specific case, we have a highly urbanized area. So we need to interact with the surrounding sort of reality. We are very close to the city. We are a regional airport in terms of volumes, but we are a city airport because we are very close to the city. So if we want to grow, we certainly need to interact with the surrounding area and city. And so to us, the concept of airport city is absolutely sort of suitable because to us it is impossible not to dialogue with the province, the municipality and the region. So in other words, the state has to comply with national rules to develop the airport, but also has to comply with the rules that are enforced at local level. So there are these two levels. One level is certainly regulated and managed by the airport managing entity. So there must be an airport master plan defining specific goals. For instance, we have set 15 years goals, and these are growth goals, of course, and then there is the external level that needs to be planned as well. And in this case, the regional laws are very helpful to define this kind of development because we have a specific law in the field that defines airports as a so-called functional pole. This means that this pole can develop following specific rules. Here you see the main criteria defining the development of an airport. First of all, we need not only how to expand in terms of master plan, but also the level of architecture that is needed, the level of services, and also the extra aviation services that are needed, so beyond the simple arrival and departure of passengers, so waiting rooms, but also conference and meeting rooms, and so on and so forth. So let's see what we have done out of the airport. Here you see the attachment to the local territorial agreement. Thanks to the regional law, we were able to share with local entities at local, provincial and regional level a specific plan going beyond our specific airport borders. So in other words, specific goals were set together and the airport was seen as a strategic gate in order to access the specific surrounding area. So to us and to the surrounding territory, these goals have been shared and they're very important. So these goals have to do with accessibility. So accessibility must be guaranteed. We talk about intermodal access. You see in purple, you see industrial areas, and in yellow, you see urban areas. We are located also in a highly urbanized fabric, and also we are located in a network of public transport. We are close to the main railway station. We are close to the highway, and so we're very close to a number of transport networks because we have multiple sort of through roads and connecting roads that are not far from the airport. So our main goal was to connect the airport to the other transport networks, trying to connect it to the railway station with the people mover project that should connect high-speed trains passengers directly with the airport, and then the ring road and the highway network. We have a specific a ring road junction dedicated to the airport, and in the future we may consider the creation of a specific sort of highway junction. And also we have specific stations of the local railway network that may be connected to the airport. And in the future, we may also consider a reorganization of the secondary road network. So this is just to talk about the transport network and see how to improve the accessibility of our facility. And then there is another level that has to do purely with infrastructure. In yellow, you see the expansion area. So what you see here is the 15-year vision of the airport in the future. You see that we foresee to create new parking lots, a new terminal, a new cargo area. In other words, we sort of consider new specialized areas to be developed. Moreover, there is an external expansion plan that is characterized by the territorial plan and by the following operational plans that we have to define specifically the quantities on what is going to be located around the airport. So this is going to be a real estate area, a logistics area with offices or with special areas devoted to specific activities aimed at developing the airport. And then there is also a military area that for now has been a constraint to us. On top of it, so we need to consider these external parts, the industrial areas surrounding the airport, and also there are some residential areas. So we need to consider these, and in order to avoid conflicts, we would like to increase the level of separation of these places. So everything located up north should be separated through specific green corridors. So we would like to sort of separate these areas and also to consider this area north of the airport in orange to sort of create a sort of buffer zone around the airport. So these goals have been fully shared by the sort of parties that have undersigned the territorial plan. So the basic idea being that of developing the airport in a sustainable way. And then internally there is us. The master plan of the airport is not only aimed at improving and increasing the level of volumes of passengers for the airport, but also would like to guarantee a high quality level, because we are in Bologna, we are in Emilia-Romagna region, so we should try to create a kind of architecture that can be easily recognized in our area. And this is what we have started doing with the rehabilitation works of our terminal. Our terminal was a bit old and obsolete, and we would like to make it suitable for the future until the building of a brand new terminal. So we have tried to make a lifting to our terminal, and we try to foresee what passengers want today, because we have a quite wide catchment area, sort of ranging from the Adriatic part and also other parts. So our catchment area goes beyond a radius of 200 kilometers. So we are at the center of an area that is quite wide, and you can consider then that passengers expect a great number of services by the airport. So we really try to offer a welcoming structure with services, because passengers spend at least 2-3 hours in the airport, so they need to find services, to find a good offer. And so again, it's not just about the aviation service, but also non-aviation services. And to offer these services, we need resources to make investments. We have departing passengers, but also arriving passengers, because sometimes people who arrive need to wait for somebody that comes to pick them up, or need to wait for a bus or for some public transport. So we have tried to offer services also to arriving passengers. The airport is open 24/7, so the fact of finding open shops beyond the traditional opening times makes these services even more valuable to passengers. Here you see the basic goals set in our plan and that have to do with our development. First of all, we want to create a future-oriented architecture, and this has been stated clearly in the territorial agreement, because the new terminal will have to undergo public bidding procedure. So we really wanted to find a shared solution, and then environmental sustainability and innovation. And again, these are other key goals, and I can present you with data over the last 10 years. And then quality of services, high quality of services, because we can drive the development of the whole surrounding area. And then the development of non-aviation business. So environment to us has been always a priority, not only because this airport is a city airport, and certainly the traffic growth has a quite important and heavy environmental impact that needs to be regulated and managed. Over the last few years, we had a great impact of noise, because the airport is quite close to residential areas, so noise issues have to be managed, and also CO2 pollution issues have to be managed. Well, as a matter of fact, we have already defined goals also in these areas, and these goals have been put into the future master plan for the next few years. So we would like to grow without increasing the environmental impact. It is very hard, but it is possible. Here you see the data from 2003 to 2013 about what happened with noise. There was an increase in the level of movement, plus 23%, because it's not passengers, but the number of flights that increases the level of noise. And we have reduced the number of inhabitants that has an impact from aviation activities, so minus 38% and minus 32%. So for residents and dwellings. So as far as energy consumption is concerned, here you see some data over 13 years between 2001 and 2012, and you see that we have a kilowatt hour per passenger as a unit of measure, and we have almost halved the level of consumption per passenger. So this is the broader context and our concept of airport city. So most of all, having an excellent airport within an excellent territory. So maybe this is the secret of our project, because it is impossible not to sort of talk and communicate with the surrounding entities. So sharing goals is a way also to avoid a certain amount of conflicts.